everybody, and welcome to the Chronic Health Collective. This isn't just a community, this is your fresh start. We have gathered the best coaches and experts to help you reclaim your energy, heal from the inside out, and live with purpose. Whether you're longing for more energy, deeper healing in your relationships, or a life that feels more aligned and more fulfilling, you are not alone anymore. I am Jeanine L. Williams, Dr. Jeanine L. Williams, ancestral medicine woman, and I am so excited about our show today. We are entering into a sacred space in an honest conversation about healing the mother wound. This is a wound that many women carry, often silently, and it can shape how we experience love, belonging, safety, and even our sense of purpose. And so I'm deeply grateful to be joined by a very special guest, Tiffany Brown, who is a life coach and mother wound healing practitioner. So thank you so much for being here, Tiffany. And I would love to begin by kind of just grounding us in understanding. But before I do that, if you want to tell us just a little bit more about what it means to be a mother wound healing practitioner. I know that most of us are familiar with what a life coach is, but talk to us
Mhm.
just briefly about how you show up in those roles.
Yeah, Janine. First of all, I am so honored to be here and having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for the work that you do, and I am excited to have this conversation. So, yes, I am a mother wound healing practitioner, and there's the mother wound is this deep wound that so many people experience, oftentimes women, oftentimes daughters. And it is one that we don't, oh, it's sneaky how it can come about. And so, in this work as a mother wound healing practitioner, I have done my own work, which I'm more than happy and continue to do my work. I've done my, excuse me, I've done my own work in that. And I am ready to sit with people and hold that space for them and create communities to facilitate conversations and to gather tools necessary to heal that wound. So I'm excited to talk more with you all about that.
Absolutely. And so let's just kind of start the conversation here. Like how do you personally define the mother wound? Like if you had to define it in just in simple language, and or maybe you even start with symptoms of it, how to make this thing that, like you said, is often hidden. How do we make that visible? How do we define what is a
Mhm.
mother?
Yeah. So before I say anything more in this conversation, I just want to say that I love my mother down. Okay. I love her. I honor her. I love and honor the matriarchal lineage that I came from. And, if someone would have asked me 15 years ago, when my partner now asked me 15 years ago, who was my best friend? I said my mother. And I believed that and I stood in that and I owned that. So to be doing this work and to be at the place that I am now in the relationship with my mother, I would have never guessed in a million years. And so even with all of that, even with the healing, I still love my mother down and I always will have deep love and reverence and gratitude for who she is and who she had to be in this world. So I want to say that first. I think, I'm an eldest daughter. And so there's oftentimes this, I just want to center that respect while also the liberation of my experience in this healing. And so with that, the rest of this conversation, it's about my mother, but it's not about my mother. It is about my identity as a daughter and how my identity as a daughter has impacted, how I exist and show up in the world, right? And so my definition of a mother wound is the pain, the trauma, the hurt that is passed down from our mothers or maternal figures in our life that impacts every single aspect of our lives, from love to parenting to work to friendships, all of the above. And they're created by some deeply core injuries along the way. And it looks very different from person to person, but at the core of it, it is this pain and trauma that is unhealed, that is passed down from our mothers and not just, the mothers that birthed us, but maternal figures in our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to just something really important that you said, because a lot of times I think what makes the mother wound very tricky is because in order to talk about it, we feel like we have to betray, turn our backs on, or indict our mothers, or incriminate them in ways that that don't feel that don't feel safe, that don't feel
Yeah.
healthy. And so that's one thing. The other thing is you can have a really good relationship with your mother and still have a mother wound.
Yes.
It isn't
Yes.
necessarily about being, it could show up in abandonment, and it looks different for different people.
Hmm.
This is something so near and dear to me because I have very recently come through a long cycle of healing my mother wound. And
Yes.
it took me so long to even acknowledge that I had a mother wound. I remember the first time a reader said that to me, and I'm like, they don't know me, they don't know my mama. Like, me and my mama are good. Like, I was offended. Like, how dare you?
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
It was more acceptable for me to think about maybe possibly having a father wound, but not my
Right.
mama. Oh,
Absolutely.
and then you and I are both mothers too. So that's that extra layer. So two things can be true. You can have a solid
Mm-hmm.
relationship with your mother. You could have had a very positive and loving experience and still have that and still carry a mother wound. Your
Hmm.
mother could have done her very best for you, and at the same time, you could still have needed more, or some of the things could have been harmful to you inadvertently, even. And so that's a very important thing to establish. And I also believe it's powerful for women to hear that healing is possible, right? Because we have walked this path ourselves and continue to walk this path ourselves. And so, can you tell a little bit about, like, when you first recognized your own mother wound? Like, what did that show up? Like, how did that start
Mm.
showing up for you?
Yeah. I echo everything that you said. But I just want to share that, I have been doing this work for some time now, and I think that the catalyst, quite honestly, was having my daughter who will be 6 in July. There is something about becoming a mother, about a parent, but becoming a mother for me brought everything to the surface. My eyes were completely open, right? So I was able to see things with a different lens. Like, I have this person depending on me for everything. So it just puts you in this different, it's just a different orientation. And so, I have been doing this work, I would say, for the duration of being a mother. I'm also a doula, so I hold space for people that are crossing this rite of passage of becoming a mother, becoming a birthing person. So I take that very seriously. And so while I'm in this headspace of like focusing in and paying attention and doing all the things, all of my stuff comes up to the surface, right? And like I said, the mother wound is the pain, the trauma, the hurt that is passed down from our mothers or maternal figures in our lives that impact every area of our life, in which here, being motherhood in this particular arena. And so I'm currently writing a book and creating guides and all of these things. And I truly believe that we have a mother wound, but then there's core injuries that can kind of play into that mother wound. My particular injury has been false witness. And when I say false witness, I mean going to your mother, going to the person that is supposed to hear it, see it, feel it, listen to it, believe it, and feeling like you have no witness. Either you're too much, you're too dramatic. That didn't really happen like that. Are you sure? And, there were things that have happened more recently that opened my eyes into the pattern of how those things have happened over my life, right? Bringing something and then asked to keep that a secret, right? Bringing something about my identity, coming out as an LGBTQIA plus person and being, not really received, not always accepted and absolutely not celebrated. And so for me, that, like I said, there's so many injuries, but the false witness injury of going to your mother, and so many women, particularly a lot of Black women that I speak to, and a lot of just women who have experienced trauma, sexual trauma, or anything in their lives, being, going to their mothers and going to their maternal figures and saying, hey, this thing happened to me, not being believed, not properly witnessed, or not really being able to sit in the experience of that. And there's countless ways. I feel like, many people experience abandonment. Many people experience, not knowing where they end and where their mother begins, and vice versa. These real injuries that really impact how you show up. And I think at the core of the mother wound exists on the very surface of fear of vulnerability. You've been hurt by one of the relationships that you're supposed to be held and safest in. Of course, it creates this real fear of vulnerability. And so that vulnerability shows up in your marriage, and that vulnerability shows up in your motherhood, and it shows up with your friends. And that level of vulnerability really can stop you dead in your tracks if you are not aware of it, or don't work on it, or it can help you to build deeper and intimate connections with the people around you.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And motherhood as a catalyst, for that, right? That
Yes.
yes. And so for me, becoming aware of my own mother wound revealed like deeper ancestral patterns around survival, around silence, and around emotional protection.
Yes.
And so when I think about, like you were saying, the false witness,
Hmm.
or or not being seen or not being
Yes.
held,
Yes.
telling the truth, I've seen this even show up in my own mothering when my daughter would present something that was hard for me.
Yes.
My first
Yes.
instinct is to, how can I minimize this? How can I shush it? How can I, and not thinking, oh, I'm going to harm her. Is I don't know how to deal with it, and this indicts me as a mother. That's how it felt. I
Yes.
didn't protect you. I didn't.
Yes.
So I have
Yes.
to. My own self protection and survival makes me want to,
Shrink.
right, and I had to become aware of that and have those conversations with my daughter, or even it's, oh, did mommy just clip your wings? Did I just,
That's beautiful.
let me, help me sit, give me a moment to, this is hard for me, give me a moment to kind of reorient and hold
Mhm.
space for you. So when I think
Mhm.
about the ways, because what you talked about experience,
Mhm.
I have experienced that, and what I've realized with my mother, I never feel that she was ever trying to harm me. It was again survival, which silence is part of survival, and that
Yes.
emotional protection, hers and mine. And if I think about my mother's experience of being a daughter, my mother is an eldest,
Yes.
I'm an eldest daughter, and all of those experiences. I think about my grandma, like it went through our line, and
Mhm.
for me was why it was so hard to, number one, find it, unpack it,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
ultimately heal it. It took a while because it
Yes.
was deep in the lineage, because again, it was an ancestral pattern around survival,
Mhm.
silence,
Mhm.
emotional protection, which,
Mhm.
if you've had ancestors who who have gone through the traumas
Mhm.
of enslavement, displacement, like all, it's so much like that kind of mix and melds in with that. I do believe that there's a space with our ancient ancestry where that was not the case,
Mhm.
but because of circumstances and situations that have come into our lives ancestrally and
Mhm.
replicated and passed on,
Mhm.
unknowing,
Yes.
yeah, it's a big thing here. So,
Yeah.
we have a couple minutes before we break, and so, but I will just ask, how has your healing journey shaped the woman you are today? We'll get into that more, but I want to, let's just give just a little bit of what it looks like on the other side.
Mm. I have become painfully self aware and accountable to the ways that I show up to every relationship. It has allowed me the ultimate mirror to understand how I'm impacted. For a perfectionist, being able to sit with your flaws and the things that challenge you is hard. So this journey has really helped me to look at myself and look at myself deeply and intimately.
I love
Yeah.
that. It's not right, and these wounds come up to be healed, and then once we start clearing them, then all of the beauty, all of the miracles from the maternal life can now come to the surface, and so
Yes.
So yes, absolutely. And for me, I have learned to be more trusting, to live life in more
Mm,
ease, to
yes,
expect that I will be held and provided for. That's a very different posturing. And so, in
yes.
our next segment, we'll kind of get into a little bit more of how to begin the healing journey. But that's what we have to look forward to when we do this work. It's hard work, but it's very, very rewarding work. And so
Yeah,
we'll get into that when we're back from break. Yep.
absolutely.
Healing doesn't begin in the body, it begins in the spirit. I'm Dr. Jeanine Williams, founder of Ancestors Bosom, a sacred space for spiritual and ancestral remembrance. Through intuitive guidance and energy work, I help you reconnect with your highest self and align your spirit, mind, and body with the rhythm of your ancestors. Together, we listen for what your spirit needs. We release what no longer serves you. We restore balance and open the path to peace, clarity, and purpose. My work is supported by spiritual herbalism, plant allies that ground and nourish your transformation. Every session is a ceremony of remembrance, a return home to yourself. Ancestors Bosom, where healing begins with remembrance. Visit AncestorsBosom.com and begin your journey home.
Is your skin aging, dry, tired, and dull? Are you putting on more and more makeup to cover the fine lines and flaws? Now you don't have to. Coolness Skincare, developed by a middle-aged woman just like you. 2 years in formulating, pearlescent face and eye serum cream with Schisandra berries and dragon's blood extract for your face, eye, and neck. And the vegan version, Deep Love Face Cream, featuring powerful blue tansy. This face cream is everything you are looking for. Feel your beauty. Visit coolness.com or scan the QR code for more information.
All right. Well, we are back. I am Dr. Jeanine Williams, and I am here with Tiffany Brown, and we are discussing the mother wound. And so, as we move into this next segment, we're really going to start talking about what this healing journey begins. And because many women do reach a point where they begin to recognize the wound, right? But they don't know how to begin healing. So, in your experience, from your experience, what is the first step a woman can take when she realizes that she's carrying a mother wound?
Mm. Whew. So first, Janine, being able to once you feel that you are carrying a mother wound, so much of it is language, right? So much of it is so I feel like we all feel, not even I feel like we all feel that weirdness. There's people who talk to their mother 5 times a day, but then they hang up and they like still don't fully feel seen, right? There are people who love their mother down, but still feel not close to them. That feeling has been there. It's always there. Having language for that feeling, I mean, for me, it changed my life. It changed my life to have someone say, "This is okay. This is normal." So that language and affirmation, you're not the only one who's experienced this, and this is probably what it is. And so if you are at the point where you are aware of the feeling of that, having that affirmation and having the language for what that is has been is a great first step to doing this healing. I know for me it was, and I think the challenge with the mother wound is that there's a lot of shame that comes from having a difficult relationship with your mother. And so even working through the shame of being able to say things aren't peachy keen with my mom. But like we mentioned in the beginning, that doesn't mean your mom is the worst person in the world, right? And I think if we focus on villainizing our mothers and villainizing our maternal figures, we'll never do the work because if they're daughters. We're all like they're a daughter of someone, and the mother wound is so transgenerational. It's so transgenerational. I'll tell a quick story. When I was, coming out, when I came out to my to my family, I had a moment where I had a sit down conversation with my mother and my grandmother. And I just had some concerns about, not really feeling that celebrated or feeling like there was some challenges there. And my mother told a story about how she felt that same way when she brought my father home. My grandmother told the same story about how she felt that way when she brought my grandfather home. And in our face, in the room with us, was this pattern that was emerging just because we told our story, right? Just because it entered the room. And I feel that, with affirming and naming, community is also so important. Being in community with other people and healing the mother wound. You healing the mother wound is not something that has to happen with your mother. Okay. And I think that's the beauty of it. Sometimes your mother might not even be physically present, physically alive to do that work. It's so much of that work is internal, but it's also in community with other people. And so affirmation, having the language and community, I would say are really great steps in being able to identify and work through the healing that comes with this.
Yes. And
Yeah.
you brought up something that is so important, and that it is a lot about you and your own journey. And your mother might not even be physically present, or but so for me, when I realized I had a mother wound, I remember talking with my sisters because I have three sisters, and I was talking with my
Mhm.
sister, and like, oh, are you going to like sit down and confront mommy? And I said, no, it's not even about her. Like what I like, it at that point, like it wasn't. I didn't. It wasn't about now. I need to go dragging mommy through the mud. Or I realized something within myself, and I needed to sit with it and process it. Now there did come points where I had to have certain conversations, but it was not sent. Part of it for me was decentering my mother for the first time, and so so that was a big thing to start looking at life and experience and moving through the lens of my own being and not what my mom would want, what my mom would, what would, what would she think. um
Exactly.
so and the other thing you kind of touched on too is this idea of self-compassion, because there is a lot of shame. And so self compassion is such kind of an important foundation in this particular healing process, and all of them, but in this one. So, can you talk a little bit about self compassion and why you may think or why you've experienced that as foundational?
Yeah, interestingly enough, Jeanine, I have a lot of healing modalities, Reiki and therapy and meditating and all of the things. One of the lingering things for me has been self-compassion. And I think it's at the core of this work because, it's the parts of you that's like, how would I allow myself to be treated this way? How would I stay in this pattern for all of these years? And it takes a deep level of humility, and it takes a deep level of it served you, but it doesn't serve you anymore. It served you when you were 5. You had to survive, or you had to do X, or you had to do Z. And so I have had to be very intentional about just pausing and giving compassion. And anytime I say little Tiffany, it softens me. It's like the 5-year-old, if I could picture the 5-year-old Tiffany and just offer her the level of compassion I would offer my 5-year-old daughter. That is the level of compassion that is necessary. And it is then and only then can you allow that you can extend that level of compassion and empathy to your mother. If I can't give that to myself as a daughter, being able to offer that to my mother or any other maternal figures, because best believe there is pain there. It might be unspoken. It might be something that's never given words, but it's just there. And having that self-compassion for yourself and allowing yourself and choosing to be in those relationships as you were allows you to extend that compassion outward.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know another area that came up for me in my journey was boundaries. Was boundaries, right? And even when I said like decentering my mother, that was part of the boundary building for me because I always lived, and I don't know if this is like cross cultural, but there is something, in the black community about a black mama and respecting your mama, and I mean, like it is.
Absolutely.
Ooh,
Absolutely.
it's more than
Absolutely.
ocean, and perhaps that's cross cultural.
Hmm.
But I never wanted to tell my mom no. Never wanted to displease her in any way. Always found a way. I could be exhausted, but if mommy calls, I'm making it happen. And so having boundaries, and that was hard for me to have boundaries, and the shifts in our relationship that it required.
Hmm. Hmm.
And and sometimes the boundaries started probably a little more extreme than they are now because I was in a survival space, just trying to make sense of it. And so I only knew how to operate in extremes.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I've been able to kind of renegotiate those boundaries in healthier ways, I think,
Hmm.
balanced ways
Hmm.
now. Let's
Hmm.
talk about the role of boundaries and what they play in healing a mother wound.
Oh my gosh, boundaries are so important. And I'm so glad that you talked about decentering your mother. I recently made a post on social media about decentering your mother, and the amount of people under the comments talking about the relatability of that story has just been, I mean, I'm not surprised, but also like, wow, this is such a universal experience. And I would like to take that a step further and say that aside from decentering our mother, it is decentering who we are as daughters, right? Because we could focus externally. And I'm not saying that, and I think the thing also with the mother wound is it's not placing blame, right? It's just talking about the impact of the relationship. And so if I really focus on decentering myself as a daughter, I want to know what's underneath, right? And did not have the proper boundaries necessary to expose or understand who Tiffany was beyond a daughter. And so boundaries is so, so, so important because I think we have this indebtedness to our mothers. And I mean, like you said, I don't know if this is cross culturally, but in the Black family, if you grew up in the South, I'm a Southern Baptist Black woman from the South. That is a very unique experience, right? And honor thy father and thy mother. It is what it is. You got to be there. I went away for college, 3.5 hours away. But when I tell you the conversation that had to happen to be the oldest daughter and to move away, I think that was kind of my first kind of experience setting a boundary. And I anybody listening, boundaries are not just don't do this, don't come here, don't do this. It is the way that we create containers for ourselves to live our full selves, right? I knew I wanted to go to Emory University in Atlanta. It was 3.5 hours away, and that was my boundary, right? I wanted to do that. And so that was kind of one of my first experiences. But I do feel like healing that wound requires us to own who we are outside of being our mother's daughter. Who are you, Dr. Jeanine, as beyond your mother's daughter? You're this and you're that and you're this. And in order to be able to meet that person and sit with her and understand who she is, we have to set the boundaries so that we don't center that identity. And I'm not saying don't be a daughter. I'm saying don't center that at the expense of all of these other relationships.
Absolutely. Yes. No.
Yeah.
And that is it because I did not really know who I was outside of being an eldest daughter, being the big sister, being, all of those things, being my mother's child,
Yes.
and all that she is, and and when you say Black Baptist from the South, well, I'm a preacher's daughter. I mean, so that gets all mixed in too.
Yes.
I mean, I remember scriptures about how like you need to honor your mother and father so your days will be long. Like you'll like. So I remember thinking, I mean, if I
Yes.
don't do everything they want me to do, I'm gonna die. Like I would
Yes.
literally die.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yes.
so that layer of it too is we could kind of laugh about, but all of that is part of it. And so
Yes.
I think for me too, going through the process of healing my mother wound was a lot of mourning of old identities for myself. Again, so much of this work again did not include any. It was me coming back to me. It was me understanding that there were patterns in my lineage, and that by healing me makes everything else right. So it was very, again, and that was also very different, centering myself. And so a lot of like, there were a lot of emotions. There was a lot of grief, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of confusion. And so, how can women begin to safely kind of process these emotions?
Mm. I love keyword safe. There's a lot of ways that we can express these emotions, but I do think that this is such a tender relationship and it requires a lot of intention. And I think, the bulk of my healing and the intensity of it has been over the past 2 years for me. And if I had not created tribe and community and people, I call it crazy checks often to say, no, this, you're not making this up. This actually happened. If I did not have that, Jeanine, I do not know how this healing journey would have went. To be quite honest, I feel that there is so much beauty in community, even if it's one person to share space with, one person that you can trust. And I have had a real struggle with wanting a particular thing from my mother, wanting a particular thing from this maternal figure, and not really leaning into the relationships that are beating my door down and be like, I want to be here for you, I want to support you. And so over these past couple of years, I've had to come, bring the ego down and to say, hey, this person wants to be here for me. This is a safe space. And being able to open up and receive. I think one of my biggest challenges in this work has been receiving, has been, I mean, just transformational to this work. So having community and creating spaces with people and leaning into relationships that are probably in your life, really taking a look. They're probably already there, but it probably requires a level of receptivity and a level of softening that's required to be able to really sit and have a person sit with you in that.
Yes. And
Mhm.
and that can be like that was really challenging for me because I wanted that. I wanted my mother to show up for me in the ways that, like, I had a very clear thing in my mind about how I wanted her to show up for me. And so I wasn't open to other people showing up that way because then I felt like, oh, am I trying to replace her? Like it was so, I'm not trying to replace her, but I do need more.
Yes,
Well, let me maybe hopefully, tell her what I need. But
exactly.
she didn't have the capacity to give for whatever reason.
Yes.
In my case, my mother would never withhold anything intentionally from me. I do not believe that. But that still doesn't mean that she has capacity, right? And I think about that myself as a mother. I would not intentionally withhold anything from my children, but I have had to realize when I don't have capacity and connect them with other resources. So that vulnerability, that openness was definitely very very important, and realizing all of the love and all of the support that is around. And so as we kind of bring this segment to a close, because we do have some of our great sponsors that we want to get into, but I do want to ask, how do you support women who are navigating the healing journey? We'll talk about this even more extensively when we come back from break, but if you can just kind of get us started with how you hold support. Why would I come to Tiffany?
Oh, thank you so much. So, one, I'm a storyteller. So, I have a social media platform, and I really just talk about this, giving language to what this is so people can just begin to start talking about it and have an understanding. I also recently launched a community called The Soft Place, and that is a community of daughters who are have identified they have a mother wound and are serious about getting in the weeds and understanding how it has infiltrated every part of their life, but also it creates a, what I like to call a cocoon, right? This work is hard enough. And so being in space and community with other women and other people, and for people who have gone through this, being held in that, is kind of where that is the soft place. There are healing circles virtually. We have opportunities for some in-person events, but just having a space to be seen and held, and understood in this journey. And then obviously I also work with people one-on-one, who really want a more intensive experience, with this healing.
I love that, and I love the name of that, a soft place, right? Because that's that's what most of us need, and a lot of the women carrying mother wounds are very hyper independent and self sufficient. So having say a soft
Absolutely.
and having community, that is the healing.
Yes.
But we'll get more into that. This is great. I am enjoying this conversation, but
Yes.
we're going to take a quick break, and then more when we come back. Healing doesn't begin in the body, it begins in the spirit. I'm Dr. Jeanine Williams, founder of Ancestors Bosom, a sacred space for spiritual and ancestral remembrance. Through intuitive guidance and energy work, I help you reconnect with your highest self and align your spirit, mind, and body with the rhythm of your ancestors. Together, we listen for what your spirit needs. We release what no longer serves you. We restore balance and open the path to peace, clarity, and purpose. My work is supported by spiritual herbalism, plant allies that ground and nourish your transformation. Every session is a ceremony of remembrance, a return home to yourself. Ancestors Bosom, where healing begins with remembrance. Visit AncestorsBosom.com and begin your journey home.
Everything we're made of contains light. From the sun that feeds our world to the energy that flows within us. With LifeWave X39, we've found a way to put that light to work. With X39, we achieved something remarkable in the field of wellness and science that others could not. By utilizing LifeWave's unique patented technology, X39 uses light to elevate GHK-Cu, a copper peptide known to support overall health and wellness. Unlike traditional light therapy, X39 uses the body's own infrared light to naturally increase vitality. By gently stimulating the skin with light, our non-invasive, non-transdermal X39 patches help you conquer your active lifestyle and pave a new way to vibrant health. Becoming a powerhouse is easier than you think. It all starts with your body and a little help from light. Place one LifeWave X39 patch on the body. Apply the patch to clean, dry skin in the morning. Patches may be worn for up to 12 hours before discarding. Keep well hydrated while using this product. Harness your natural potential. Reclaim youthful energy. Live long, live well, live young with LifeWave X39. Be the light. LifeWave.
Why do 98% of beauty enthusiasts rave about coolness? It's all in the blend of ancient wisdom and modern science. Introducing Coolness, Pearlescent Face and Eye Serum Cream. This powerhouse combines the antioxidative power of schisandra berries, the glow of pearl powder, and the hydrating wonders of dragon's blood extract. It's like a time machine for your skin, making it radiant, firm, and oh so smooth. Inspired by ancient Chinese traditions and backed by modern nutritional science, this serum cream is perfect for dry, mature, and aging skin. It's time to unlock your inner glow with Coolness. Treat your skin to the best of both worlds today.
All right, we are back discussing the mother wound, and for our final segment, I wanted to talk a little bit more about integration, come into some herbal allies, and then also talk about what becomes possible as we heal the mother wound. And so, Healing the mother wound, as we've said, is, and as you can probably see, and if you're experiencing it, it's deeply personal.
Yes.
But it is also, it can also be very spiritual and very ancestral, right? Because
Yes.
we're talking about our emotions, deep held beliefs, you know, experiences that have been passed down generationally. I mean, that story you shared, Tiffany, about you
Yes.
expressing how you didn't feel safe and introducing kind of who you are and your romantic life and your partner, and your mom said, "Oh yeah, me too," and then your grandmother said, "Me too," like all in this one
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
And you would think like, wow, well, if we've all had this experience, why wouldn't we make it different for the next, right? But we don't even question it. But I bet when your love bug,
Yes.
she's in that phase, right? And with illness, she will have a different experience. And
Yes.
so it's a beautiful thing that it can start with us. I will
Yes.
um for me, like I recently, closed out the work of a mother wound for me. I
Mhm.
never thought it would come to an like, and not that I won't have these kind of tinges of it, but it's not something like I don't feel the same. Like I know that it has been broken. I've had the conversations. I've done the self work. And it really kind of came to a close full circle with me and my mother, with
Mhm.
me needing her help,
Mhm.
wanting to ask her, even thinking to ask for her help, but being guided. I know that, spirit, my ancestors told me to talk to my mother. And I remember that day and I just started crying. Like, I don't want to ask her. And I remember I felt, why don't I want to ask her? And everything came to the surface about why I felt like I didn't want to ask her. And it was hyper independence. It was not feeling safe. It was not. And so after that, I asked her anyway. And my mother, she was so excited to help me. It was, she needed to help me,
Yeah.
and I think for her, it closed out ways in which she was not able to be there for me in the past that probably were carried with shame and things like that. And so it was this full circle moment where I allowed myself to be vulnerable with her.
Mhm.
In this particular way, and I needed her to help me and she needed to help me
Mhm.
for it to close out for us. And thing like when I tell you that was such a catalytic moment, it closed, like it really, I have not felt the same. My reality, the way things are moving, has not been the same since then, for me or for her. And of course, this, we don't even have time in the show to talk about how
Mhm.
long of a journey this was and all the different conversations and all the things. One more thing that just came to mind, I feel like I need to share it. There came a point where my mom said to me, she said, "I don't know. I'm learning how to be the mom you need me to be. But you have to, but you have to be, like, you can't just shut me out. Like, you can't, you got to be patient with me. You have to give me space."
Mhm.
That was that was a moment
Yes.
too,
Beautiful. Mhm.
for her to even express that,
Mhm.
and for me, okay, oh wow, okay, but that was good for me because I knew, oh, you want to do something different, you just don't know how. I don't know why that never clicked for me. I just kind of felt
Mhm.
like, well, you should know because we do. That is a very thing in society. You become a mother, you should know how to be a mother. Everything should
Mhm.
be perfect, and if you have a
Mhm.
hard time, as a birthing practitioner,
Yes.
if that bond isn't immediate, or if everything isn't perfect, or if this motherly instinct doesn't come in flawlessly, there's a lot of guilt and shame, around
Mhm.
that, internally and externally. So, but
Mhm.
one of the things I will say, like through this experience, I have come to understand that healing the mother wound, again, is not about blaming or rejecting our
No.
mothers. It's about reclaiming ourselves. I
Yes.
would be remiss if I didn't talk about some herbal allies that help us
Yes.
process. And so, one of the best herbs to support kind of this emotional and ancestral healing includes it's a herb called Mother Wort. When I tell you, when I tell you, our ancestors and the
Wow.
herbs give us everything we need, and that is for courage and emotional grounding. For womb health and all, because our womb is where,
Yes.
the
Yes.
a lot of
Yes.
the wounds are
Mhm.
situated, and where in the body they
Mhm.
manifest and process. Rose is good for heart opening and grief release.
Yes.
Lemon balm, soothing overwhelm. Hawthorn berry is strength. It's good for our heart, our physical health, but also
Mm-hmm.
strengthening our emotional boundaries. And so there's so many things. In addition to community, in addition to kind of time and coming back to ourselves, what naturally grows from this earth is here to support us. We are
Yeah.
always provided for, and there's so many resources for us to be.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that these herbs don't do the healing for us, right? It's not like a pharmaceutical, take this pill and the wound.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
what they do is they walk beside us,
Yes.
spirit, mind, and body, as we do the work, right? Because the only way we have to reclaim ourselves, and that takes work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The community and being in community with plant allies also can soothe and help
Yes.
the journey. Um, And so I would love to hear your thoughts as we kind of again start closing out. What
Yeah.
becomes possible in a woman's life as
Mm.
she heals the mother wound? We touched on it a little bit in the first segment, but let's talk about what becomes possible. Like, how does this healing change the way we give and receive love? What are the possibilities? Because the possibilities are endless and they are beautiful. Yeah.
Endless, endless. First of all, thank you. I feel like I need to drop by ancestors' bosom because I need all of those herbs, right? I need all of those things, and I definitely feel walking with those herbs. That's such a powerful analogy. I would say that the most present place, that the possibility for me in my life, and I know for so many people, has been in love, and it has been in romance. I tell the story of my partner and I have been together for over 13 years. And it has been a journey. It has been a journey. And I have had a partner who has been begging to love me, begging to be there, and begging to just be there, right? Devoted and loving. And not to say that he's been perfect or we've been perfect, but just begging to love me. And at every turn, I was like, that's too much. Oh, I'm gonna get swallowed up. Oh no, I'm independent. Every turn. And I think that it came from hyper independence. I can't be soft. I got to be responsible. I got to be strong. Or moments of feeling not affirmed or celebrated in that relationship because of control or these other things, and me not ever fully leaning in. I tell the story, and it brings me even a bit of pain to think about this. My partner asked me, "At what point do you think we became a family?" And I was like, "Once our daughter came." And in the moment, I was like, yeah, like when our daughter came in, he was like, well, we were together and married years before that. And I had to really sit with feeling that before our child was here, I didn't quite feel like a family. I still felt like my parents' daughter who was with this man. And I have shown up in my marriage and in my relationship as somebody's daughter and not as a partner. And so for me, Jeanine, these past 2 years, as painful as they have been, with the boundaries that I have set, have opened up this whole new world about who Tiffany is, right? Not just Tiffany as a daughter, Tiffany as a wife, Tiffany as a sexual being, Tiffany as, someone that is sensual and in her joy and like can experience the fullness of what there is. There was no space. And again, it's not about blame. I did not choose to create a space that allowed me to be my authentic self. So for me, the possibility of leaning into receiving love and being loved has been monumental. And I don't think that that just has to be romantic. There are probably people in your life, be it friends, be it, other just beings in your life who want to love you and receive you. It probably has some roots in the mother wound. I can almost bet it has some roots. Even our relationship to money, and Jeanine, you and I have talked about
Yeah.
this, how we relate to money, how that impacts our our views on prosperity and abundance and all of these things. So the possibilities are endless. But for me, love and allowing myself to be loved and being sensual and being sexual and all the things, I mean, it's changed my life. It has changed my life.
Yes. And if we think
Mm.
about, I mean, that makes so much sense that love is like the broadest possibility, or, because
Yes,
that really is the foundation of the mother-child relationship, right? They love us even before we are here, right? Or there's a way of, we expect that at least, right? But even I think about the way in which, for those of us who physically carried our children,
yes, yes.
the way I had to be mindful of what I ingested. Like, I was loving this
Mhm.
person
Yes,
long before they were fully formed and here and walking around. And then caring, once they are here, you're caring for them, right?
mhm.
Their whole survival.
Everything.
Um, yeah, and I mean, I was able, for some time, for all three of my children to breastfeed. So I was
Yes,
there. I was literally their food source.
yes,
So
yes.
much, so when we think about love, so yeah, so if there's any kind of disruption or any like tension around that, yes, it would manifest itself in love.
Mhm,
But this whole idea of receivership, I think that for me has been the biggest thing. Receiving, and that last bit with me and my mother,
mhm,
it was finally clearing out that my inability to receive. I had learned to receive from so many others, but it was something about receiving from my mother in that way that was still a blockage. And I know that that was ancestral.
yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, there are so many possibilities. We don't have to suffer, and even the healing process can be. We will find joy and we will find pleasure. And so it's not all just grit and grind. It's not just
Mm-mm.
that either. And so getting in community is so important, and just being open. And as we are kind of wrapping up the show, I listen. There's so much more. We just scratched the surface. If you can let our viewers know how they can connect with you and learn more about your work, because this runs deep, but so does the healing and so does the community. Oh
Yes.
goodness, let's not forget about the goodness. So how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so you can stay connected with me on social. On all my handles, I am Tiffany the Empress. That's three E's, the Empress. I'm on Threads, Instagram, all the things. And then I would love for you to join the Soft Place. There is more information there on how to join. It is a monthly membership where we have virtual healing circles, space to chat, opportunities to chat with me one on one. I am so deeply passionate and dedicated to this work. I truly believe that we have the opportunity to end cycles. And as we've talked about, this is generational, this is in our lineage. And I am committed to doing this work to heal the seven generations before and the seven generations after. And I know that you can too. So I would love to help guide you and help hold you in this journey. So, yes, I'm so happy to have this conversation with you, Jeanine. It's been
This
awesome.
has been wonderful. And so, to our viewers, if today's episode spoke to you, do not go it alone. You can book your free consult with one of our expert coaches at the chronichealthcollective.com for personalized support. You can subscribe to our monthly magazine for expert tips from all 11 coaches to elevate your health, your mindset, and relationships. And then you can catch us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, or watch past episodes at E360 TV or on our YouTube at youtube.com at Chronic Health Collective. And so thanks so much for tuning in. Your transformation starts now. We will see you next week.